Hello my dear students, in this video we'll talk about human respiratory system or respiration in human. What do you mean by respiration? Yes, in the lower classes you have studied that respiration is a process where there is an exchange of gases between the atmosphere and the body, or it is a process in which the oxygen that are present in the atmosphere enters the body and the carbon dioxide that are produced each and every cells of our body is thrown out of the body. So this exchange of oxygen and carbon dioxide between the atmosphere and the body is nothing but the respiration, and whatever the organs that are involved for the process of respiration is nothing but the respiratory system. Humans have well developed respiratory system, and this respiratory system in humans begins with the external nose or the nostrils. So nostrils are the opening of the nose, or the opening whatever we have above the upper lip is nothing but the nostrils or the external nose. This nostril leads to nasal cavity or the nasal passage. So whatever the cavity that we have inside the nose is nothing but the nasal passage. So air from the atmosphere enter the nasal passage through the nostril. This nasal passage or the nasal cavity have fine hairs in that. So this hair helps in filtration of the air. So air from the atmosphere through the nostril enter the nasal passage, where it will be filtered by the fine hair that are present in the nasal cavity or the nasal passage. Apart from that, nasal passage also have mucus. So this mucus also helps in filtration of the air that enters the nasal cavity or the nasal passage. Later, this air from the nasal cavity moves along the length of the throat and finally it reaches the lung. The throat part, specifically the trachea part, as you can see, this is a trachea, which is a long tube-like structure which passes down the neck into the thorax or into the lungs. And this trachea is provided with a cartilaginous ring, that is she-shaped or incomplete cartilaginous ring covers this trachea part. This cartilaginous ring provides strength to the trachea, or it avoids a collapse of trachea or the windpipe. So trachea is nothing but the windpipe through which wind enters or air passes, isn't it? So these cartilaginous ring which are present on the trachea avoids collapse of this trachea or the windpipe or the throat region. This trachea in the lung region, it divides into smaller and smaller pipe-like structure. As you can see, trachea divides inside the each lung, right and left lung, into bronchi and bronchioles, and ultimately it produces balloon-like or bag-like structure known as alveoli. So trachea divides in each lung and ultimately it produces bag-like or balloon-like structure known as alveoli, and it is in the alveoli actual exchange of gases takes place, whereas in the other part of the lung there is only a transport of gases. There is no exchange of gases in trachea or nasal cavity or any other part of the respiratory system. So exchange of gases takes place only in the bag-like structure or balloon-like structure known as alveoli. So it is this alveoli which provides a surface for the exchange of the gases, or exchange of gases takes place in the alveoli, and the plural is alveolus. This bag-like or balloon-like alveoli is a very thin wall and it is supported or provided with a network of blood vessels. As you can see, this green color thing is alveoli and it is surrounded by numerous blood vessels which carry blood, and there will be exchange of gases, that is oxygen and carbon dioxide, between the alveoli and the blood that are present in the blood vessels. So exchange takes place only in the alveoli part. Now we'll see how exactly air enters the body and how exactly gaseous exchange takes place in the alveoli. As you have studied in the lower classes, when we breathe in or during the inhalation process, our ribs move upward and the dome-shaped diaphragm which is present below the lung become flattened. So because of the upward movement of the ribs and flattening of the diaphragm, there is an increase in the chest cavity, or there is an increase in the size of the thoracic cavity. So when there is an increase in the size of the chest cavity, obviously the pressure inside the chest cavity become less, or the pressure inside the lung or the chest cavity decreases when compared to the atmospheric pressure. Atmospheric pressure means pressure created by the air in the atmosphere. So when there is an increase in the size of the chest cavity, the pressure in the chest cavity decreases when compared to the atmospheric pressure. So obviously when there is a decrease in the pressure, the air enters in, that is air from the region of high pressure region enters into the region of a low pressure region, that is from the atmosphere into the lung by simple diffusion process. So that's how air enters into the lung by the process of inhalation or inspiration. So now the air is present inside the lung and it will fill the alveoli. So alveoli will bulge. So the air now it is present inside each alveoli. As I told, our lungs have millions of alveoli. So when we inhale the air, each and every alveoli is filled with the air, and this air consisting of high concentration of oxygen when compared to carbon dioxide. And as I already told, this is the alveoli, and this alveoli is surrounded by network of blood vessels which carry the blood from each and every tissue. So in each and every tissue, as a metabolic result, carbon dioxide is produced. So carbon dioxide is produced as a metabolic waste in each and every cells of our body, and this carbon dioxide is carried by the blood into the alveoli for the gaseous exchange. So the blood which is present in this blood vessel is rich in carbon dioxide, whereas the air that are present in the alveoli is rich in oxygen. So obviously the gaseous exchange takes place, or gases move from a region of high concentration to a region of a low concentration. So alveoli is rich in oxygen, or the oxygen concentration is high in alveoli, whereas oxygen concentration is very less in this blood which are present in this blood vessels. So obviously oxygen from the alveoli enters the blood. Similarly, the carbon dioxide concentration is high in blood when compared to alveoli. So carbon dioxide from the blood now enters into the alveoli. Later, this carbon dioxide from the alveoli, it is thrown out of the body by expiration or exhalation process. So that is how exchange of gases takes place in the alveoli. In between the inspiration and the exhalation, there will be some amount of gas that is remain in each and every alveoli or in the lung, which provides a sufficient time for the exchange of oxygen and the carbon dioxide in the alveoli. In the larger animals like human being, this diffusion pressure itself is not sufficient to carry the oxygen to each and every cells of our body. To help that, we have developed one more mechanism, that is, we have specialized respiratory pigment known as hemoglobin. This hemoglobin is present in the RBC of the blood. So this hemoglobin has high affinity for the oxygen. So because of this high affinity or high love towards the oxygen, it will take up oxygen rapidly. So because of this high affinity, this hemoglobin takes up the oxygen from the alveoli and it delivers this oxygen to each and every cells of our body. So if we talk about carbon dioxide, this carbon dioxide will dissolve in blood more when compared to oxygen. So carbon dioxide that are produced in each and every cells of the body as a result of metabolic reaction. So carbon dioxide will be produced as a metabolic waste. So from the cell, it will be carried into the alveoli in the dissolved form in the blood. So that is how exactly exchange of gases takes place in the alveoli part. So that is all about human respiratory system. I hope this video is useful. If you like this video, please hit the like button and subscribe to my channel. Thank you.